everything she was doing. And she totally blew me away. We're moving to a completely different topic. Emily Neilson-Winkler is doing the Zionism of today. When Herzl imagined Zionism back then, part of it was the fact that we were going to do Tikkun Olam, that we're going to create an amazing country, and we're going to go and heal the world. And Emily is one of those Zionist female leaders doing that. She's bringing Israeli innovation to emerging markets, mainly Africa, and she's going to tell us all about it. Emily, please. Woo.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies. We always say ladies and gentlemen, but this time it's a whole different meaning to say ladies and gentlemen, actually, because I've spoken on a lot of stages around the world, and never have I felt so comfortable to get on stage with what I'm about to say tonight. And so thank you for having me. Very excited to be here. I would be completely lying if I said that I wasn't surprised when I got the call. Most people in Israel aren't very aware of what I do. It's normally played to my advantage. Queen Esther's already been mentioned, and I would say that that's one of the stories of our identity and our history that I learned the most about and has very much guided my career. Stay humble, stay under the radar, and you're much more efficient and much more effective. A few years ago, some people said, maybe it's time that you start sharing with people what you do. Because at some point, they need to know where the world's going and how we can stop that. And so it's actually very exciting to be here tonight amongst all of these great women. And because I stay very much under the radar, most people will ask me what I do, and I think I give a different answer every time. And tonight I've decided to try to sum it up in 2 words. So what do? I do creative Zionism. In my industry of taking technologies around the world, that's not something that I woke up one morning and thought that I was going to do that. Obviously, we live in a society, we live in Israel, where Israeli creativity and innovation can change the world. In water, in agriculture, in healthcare, in education, everything. And I believe that. I see that on a daily basis, doing what I do. But like most Zionist women, I don't stop there, and I wasn't satisfied with just changing the world. And I said, that's fabulous that we can do that. But why are we not taking it a step further? What if you could take all of these things that we do take around the world, but what if you can take them to the darkest of places, to people who don't know us, to people who don't like us, to some people that hate us? And while you're changing the world, can you change their hearts? Is it possible? Well, it's been a privilege to lead Link, my company, throughout the years in being able to do that and be a bridge and a light in some of the most distant and darkest of places for Zionists. But I'm not here to talk about necessarily those successes that may have been impressive that invited me here. I'm actually here to talk about my journey and why I decided to do what I do and what's brought me here till today. And like every interesting story, it has an interesting beginning. And my story, what's led my career, started roughly 7 years ago on a beautiful spring day on a beautiful campus in Cape Town, South Africa. I was sent to South Africa with an organization that I was working with. I volunteered for in Hebrew University while I was studying, and they asked me, will you go to South Africa for a week, fully paid for, and go help the Jewish students on campus? I thought, well, fabulous, why not? Little did I know that I was walking into what would be an event that changed my life forever. I walked onto the University of Cape Town campus Sunday morning. School starts in South Africa on Monday. And we got there and I saw the walls of the BDS. You see, I arrived to South Africa to help the Jewish students deal with Israel Apartheid Week. Those of you who are not familiar with it, Israel Apartheid Week is a week of a hate spill against Israel, against Zionism, exposing all of the crimes of the Zionists and showing the world how awful we are, how everything from murder, rapists, drinking the blood of children, whatever you could possibly think of, was on those walls. At a renowned university, right there in the middle of campus. And I looked at that and I thought, this is going to be an awkward week. I don't think in all of my military service in Israel, in anything I've ever experienced in life, I've never experienced something that really left me that shocked. An entire week of pure hatred based on lies and falsities and at the best misunderstandings, completely misrepresented. And I came to the realization that when moments like this happened, and this is a clip of a video that went viral while I was at UCT, when a man came up to me with a Palestinian flag in my face on the last day of Israel Apartheid Week, and I was trying to have a conversation with him, and it didn't matter what I was saying to them, it just wasn't getting through. And he came to me and he said, "You are a white Israeli woman. Why would I speak to you?" And he turned around and walked away. And I thought to myself, all of the things that he just said are true. However, the tone was very inaccurate. And so how is my identity and my reality so offensive to him? Why does he believe something so different from what I believe when he says those words? And I came back to Israel extremely confused and quite scared. And all of my friends said, don't be distracted. You're at the top of your class. You've got everything going for you. Against all odds in my personal life and things that I've been through, you're here, you're succeeding. Do not let this distract you. It was a week. You can move on. And I said to them, shame on us if I do that. Shame on me that I would come back and I would see the struggle of the South African Jews and the South African Zionists and the Jews that don't want to be defined as Zionists because they know the consequences. The Jews that did not come to campus for an entire week so that they would not have to be present to experience what that is. I said, shame on us. And you know what? I couldn't ignore it. And I've learned throughout the years that whenever I meet, especially women that have that sentence and what they talk about, they say, you know, I just couldn't ignore it. If I didn't do it, who was going to do it? I've learned to really relate to women like that because I know the burden. We like to say responsibility because we like to put on a good face as if, yes, we're responsible and we can handle it and we can do it and we can take the weight of the world on our shoulders. But I'm going to be very, very honest tonight because I feel like I can be. I know the burden. And I think that that burden is something that we need to respect amongst each other. Little did I know that my identity, something that as a family that grew up in the States, in Tennessee, not exactly here, New York or California or Miami, I didn't grow up around a big Jewish community. I grew up on a farm. I met Eliad in 2003, and it was a harsh reality to find out that Shalom Y'all wasn't a thing. And so, I get here, and I worked really hard to figure out my identity. And this is pretty basic, yeah? He was right. I am a white woman. I am Israeli. He left out young, and he didn't know me when I was a mother. I now have 2 children. But I thought, okay, let me sit down and figure this out. I can be creative about this. What I figured out very, very quickly in all of the markets that I would encounter is that these words meant different things to the people that I was going to work with for the next 7 years. You see, I was white, and so I was privileged. I was a woman, therefore I was insignificant. I was young, automatically that makes me naive. FYI, those of you who didn't know. When I became a mom, I learned very quickly that many people thought I should be at home. And Israeli, racist. Here in Israel, we allow ourselves to, have that dialogue of, I'm Israeli, I'm Zionist, I personally think it's awkward. However, in the world, you're Israeli, you're Zionist, you're racist. Zionism is racism. You see, this is the tagline. This is the tagline that everyone uses, and the BDS grabbed onto that so hard and so strong that when they came to Durban, South Africa, to start the BDS movement did not start in any Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The BDS movement started in Durban, South Africa. I would challenge anyone to buy the book of the BDS written by Al-Baghouti and just read the introduction. Come back to me and tell me how many times South Africa is mentioned compared to how many times Israel or the Palestinian countries are mentioned, the Palestinian people. It's amazing how significant South Africa is to the BDS. And I came back and I said, how can I use my talents, even though they see them as something that's not talent, and change their minds, change their hearts? Well, I just kind of started doing it, and I learned along the way what works, what doesn't work, how to relate to people, how to relate to people that believe these things, how to change these minds. In 5 years, Link has brought over 500 influential leaders and politicians to Israel, privately. Link is a business. We're not a charity, we're not a nonprofit, I don't have donations. I had to be creative enough with my Zionist cause to make money to essentially pay for all of the expenses of doing my Zionist cause. And it is a burden, and it is a struggle. Maybe me being here tonight somehow is a sign that the cause was successful. Maybe last year when I was named one of the youngest Israeli industry leaders, it's a sign that the business was successful. But I'm going to be honest. If you ask me, it's a day-to-day struggle. It is a day-to-day struggle, and success never feels like it's right around the corner, and it definitely doesn't feel like it's in my lap. But I cherish that, because the Jews, and especially the Zionists, have never had it easy. It's always been difficult, but yet we persevere, and we drive on, and we accept that difficult element of our life. And no matter where it's taken me, I decided that the best thing I know about my identity is that the Zionists dared to. We always have, for thousands of years. Herzl knew how to encompass that to our world today, but we've always dared to go. And so many people said to me, what are you doing? From the stages of the United Nations to the townships of South Africa, BDS stomping grounds, they would hold flags saying, death to the Jews, give me an hour with those children and I'll show them a different way. All the way to the jungles of Ghana, bringing Israeli water technology and innovation and showing them that we can be a bridge. And Link's been that bridge for so many people. To be able to say, get to know us a little bit better. See what we can do for you. See what we can do with you. And while we're doing that, get to know me. Why I think that me being white is not privilege. Why I think me being a woman is significant. And I dared to show up in Ghana. I will never forget my first trip to Ghana. Me coming out, landing at 12:30 a.m. in this rinky-dink airport with my Boss headphones on, my purple suitcase, and the doors open and I get hit with the tropical humidity. You could have heard a pin drop. About 150 Ghanaian men turned and looked at me, and I could literally read their minds. Who is this white chick that just walked out of the airport? And the 30 seconds that seemed like forever until someone tapped on my shoulder and I turned around and he said, Emily? And I said, John. I dared to go, and I dared to start a relationship with a business partner that's now 4 years running, bringing Israeli technologies to Ghana, sitting with chiefs in the jungle. And I dared to go as a young female businesswoman in a man's industry in this country. And then I had kids. And I'll never forget my first interview when they said, how is it to be a mom now and have a child? And I said, I think Link was my first child. Lenny's now my second. But 2 months after I gave birth, which I'll pause at the moment and say was alto, because she just 2.5 months ago gave birth. And so those of us who have children know exactly how it is. Can't believe, you look so fresh. I don't look that fresh.
All lies.
And I remember when John called me from Ghana and he said, Emily, we need to close this deal. I said, okay. And I got on a plane 2 months after giving birth. I was breastfeeding. Came to Ghana, sat with the chiefs, sat with the parliamentarians. And in the end, I'm breastfeeding every 3 hours. I needed to pump. And so now I'm about to sit to these parliamentarians in this strategy, in this negotiation, and say, hey guys, we need to pause. I need to go pump and dump. I can say in this room the dumping was much harder than telling them that we needed to pause the meeting. And so I've had years and years of experiences that have really shaped my knowledge of the identity of the Jewish people, because there's no better way to learn than to teach, really. And when I've had to teach all of these people who we are, I had to learn who we are. And it's been an amazing, amazing experience. An amazing experience to know the thousands of history of struggle, the ability to overcome, and the ability to push on. And I can tell you that I don't really know what the future holds. But the one thing I can tell you, if there's anything we can learn from our identity as Zionists, is that it's going to be difficult. And I think that it's time that we as women also stand up and accept that publicly. No, not everything is fancy and bells and whistles and fine. It is difficult if done properly, with integrity, with a little bit less ego, and with a little bit more strategy, it can be sustainable for our people. And if that happens, then it will be a good future for all of us, and we will continue to be as strong as we are today. Thank you, everyone, for listening.